everyone, welcome to Coach on Command. My name is Arron Littleton, and I am the head coach of the Gymnastics Sport Center Storm, two-time AGA Champion, and your host for this hour of excitement and wonder. So we've got our illustrious colleagues, my illustrious colleagues, our illustrious panel members here today, and so we're going to go down the row and let them introduce themselves to you.
I'm Coach Kaegan, and League of Legends is nerdy.
I'm Coach Tracy. I have an attention span longer than 7 seconds. Try me.
So our main prompt this evening, as the head coach of your program, you are the ultimate string puller in your gym, and you need a multitude of different things to happen, and you need a multitude of different people to perform those tasks for you. So, you've got some gymnasts who need to be pushed forward, right? You've got some who are good where they're at. They need to round out a little bit, but you have some that you're really trying to push forward. You have some coaches who need to step up for the good of the program, some who you're trying to move, and so you're always trying to move the program forward in any way that you can. And so you've got to encourage all of these things to happen all at one time. And so sometimes you challenge, sometimes you chastise, sometimes you cheer, depending on what is needed from you as the head coach. So you are a coach of many talents. And you're always behind the scenes, working in the best interest of the people around you, whether they know it or not. And so in Assassin's Creed, my favorite video game series, I think we've been over that, they say we work in the darkness to service the light. And that, as a coach, as a higher level coach, as someone who is steering your program in a direction, that is you, and that's a lot of what being a head coach is. And so tonight we are going to talk about pulling strings and pushing buttons. And the first question that we have, that's not a button. How do you decide who needs to take a step forward? Okay, and you can answer this either talking about the coaches that you're trying to train or the gymnasts that you're working with. How do you decide who needs to take a step forward and who needs some work at their current level before they move on?
So it's a lot easier to tell when your coaches need to move up, and you get a lot more chances to when your classes are low on children or it's a relatively chill day. That is your best time to train your coaches. That's when you get them ready for things that they're uncomfortable with, learn them a thing or two, because there are definitely coaches that need to know some things. With students, the way that you tell that they're ready to move up is when the skill before it. So, round off. You can tell they're ready for a round off when the cartwheel is like 80% there, and that's with any and every skill. You're not just going to teach a kid a kip. You got to teach them a chin-up pullover. You got to teach them a whole list of things. And once you have all the individual parts down, that's how you know that they're ready.
So I would say if you're a newer coach, then this is difficult to judge, because I think that the true ability to judge this is by seeing kids develop. And obviously, if it's your first week, you haven't seen that. But you can see the speed at which that they're developing and gauge, one, their confidence level, because you have to have at least some level of confidence to be able to try the next tier up of whatever skill that you're talking about. So watch them as they grow. Consider everything about them as a psyche eval, and we say that often enough, but it's just a fact. It's a psyche eval, but also as you judge them as they're growing, you can glean into their want to move up to a next skill, because the want to move up has a lot to do with their drive and their commitment to a newer skill, a more difficult skill. Their physical capabilities. If they need to be able to do a pull-up, to do a chin-up, to do a pullover, it's more technique than physical strength, but there needs to be some physical strength there, of course. So just making judgments based on how they've grown as you've watched them develop will help you determine whether or not you think they're ready to move on to the next step.
So, number one, I think if you pay attention for a while, it becomes obvious who's ready to move up and who's not. And so that is the best case scenario for you. If you can look out and you're like, this person's actually doing pretty good. We've got most of what we need. And Kaegan said 80%, and that's the number that I normally use. It is 80%, of the skill before. And it's like, okay, if we're doing this, it's like, all right, we need to round this out a little bit, but we can start moving in the direction of moving up to the next skill, right? And so with coaches, I think you look at their that either their skill level or their confidence in what they're doing. If they're when you first start coaching a round off back handspring, you will notice that nobody feels very good about it. It's a thing that's hard to do, and you're really in your head when you first start to learn to spot a round off back handspring. But when you look at the body language as the coach who's evaluating these things, whether you be the head coach or just an upper level coach who is going to help the coaches underneath you get to where they need to be, you will notice a stark contrast after they've done it for a little while and they don't see so antsy. They don't. You can tell they're not shaking nearly as much, and so that's the best case scenario where your program is moving forward. Sometimes you don't have that luxury. Sometimes it's like, okay, especially for coaches, it's like I've got 20 girls on team and I've only got one coach and I need another coach, and you look around and it's like, oh no, there are not an abundant amount of suitable candidates for this job. And so sometimes you just got to pick somebody. Sometimes you just have to be like, okay, you've been here the longest. Let's work with you and try to get you worked up, and we do that sometimes too. But ideally, hopefully, you will have foreseen this coming in for a while, and you can kind of move them in the right direction, and that's what you need to be doing. But the other thing is, especially with gymnasts, you'll notice if a bunch of gymnasts have been in a level for a little while, you will notice that some of them will start cream rise to the top a little bit. Some of them will start to exceed the skill level of their peers. And especially depending on what your especially depending on what the this is getting worse all the time. Especially depending on what the skill level of the rest of the kids in the program is. Maybe that class is getting full, right? And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, this kid can move up, and so you're constantly looking for kids. It's like, okay, this is kind of the best tier of this class. These other kids need a little bit of work, but maybe this person, if I lean on them a little bit, they could move up just a little bit, and that would help kind of unclog our log jam right now, and that would help. But with coaches, sometimes it takes a long time to train coaches, and you'll notice that sometimes the cream does rise to the top in that regard as well. But it's a lot longer to see that, and so sometimes you just got to pick somebody and be like, "Get in, buddy, strap up, here we go,
sink or swim."
Yeah, right. And so that is that is what I would say about how you decide who needs to move up and who needs to stay where they're at. If they're not to 80% yet, then if it can be avoided that you move them up, you don't move them up. You let them continue to round out, and that will help. So question number 2: how do you know which tactic to employ to get the most from those around you?
I think most importantly is know your people, know your students, and know your coaches. And I know we all say this all the time, but everybody is different. What works for one person isn't going to work for everybody else. You have to know your people. It's that simple. Know the people around you. Take the time to learn about them.
I said this earlier, and I'm going to say it again, but you have to have a psych eval of everyone that you're trying to train, everyone that you're evaluating. I mean, we call it an evaluation for a reason. It's not all just a physical evaluation. Sometimes you have to take into account their mental state. Not everyone is on their A game every day. But in terms of tactics to get the most out of someone, in terms of my students, gosh, my students and I, we make bets all the time. And no, I'm not saying we're shuffling money under the table, but I bet my student earlier today, I said, I bet you cannot do 3 perfect laps around this obstacle course. If you can clear this with no mistakes 3 times in a row, then we'll play games, for the last 5 minutes of class, 10 minutes of class, whatever the case may be. And he was on fire for that. And until he failed, he was going hard, okay? But that was it. That bet right there, they're kids. They love to play games. I enjoy playing games with them, but they wanted that so bad that he decided he was going to give it his all. And then once the bet was off, maybe he's not going as hard as he was. But something like that, it rewards, obstacle day. Sometimes we do popsicles at the end of class. Kids love that. A little bit of sugar goes a long way for a lot of kids. And it could be the simplest of rewards, but kids like to have something to look forward to. Adults like to have something to look forward to. So some kind of reward, even if it's a simple freeze pop from the ice box, goes a long way.
I think that's something, definitely as far as you were talking about, the physicality of it and the mentality, how that compare and contrast to, the actual physical aspects of the skill. And I think that that's something that is overlooked, but that is something that I'm watching every step of the way. How do you mentally react to all sorts of stuff? Because I am always pulling strings. I'm always pushing buttons all the time. And so I want to see, and now I'm not putting anybody in any dangerous situations, but it's like, how do you react to failure? How do you react to success? How do you react if maybe something weird happens? Maybe you're in a back handspring and all of a sudden you clip one arm and you almost go down. It's like, what happens next? Are you resilient, or are you like, no, I'm never going to do this again? Right. And so you've got to know that kind of stuff about the people that you're working with, especially the students. And that is what goes into it. And it's like, so if you are, if you do not show any outward signs of any mental anguish, then I might let you move up faster I definitely will let you move up faster than if you do. If you're shaking like a leaf, that's a problem. And so I think that there is a lot to that. And you mentioned the psych profile, and that is exactly where I'm going to, because you pay attention to the people around you. And, this goes for coaches too. If you put them in a situation where they're uncomfortable, and I'm constantly doing that in a controlled environment. Like, I'm not going to be like, all right, you've never spotted a back handspring. Well, here, go try to spot this layout right quick. It's like, we're not doing that. I'm not putting anybody's life on the line. But I may let you think that I am. I may, I've got an idea in my head, and I've got something that I'm working towards, and I've got ways that I'm trying to go. And so I will try to, sometimes I will intentionally try to freak you out just a little bit, in a way that is safe, that I can control, that I can make sure that nobody's going to die.
Helps you build that psyche, Val.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely, because, this is scary. And what happens whenever you're ready, whenever you're ready to do this, but you're not mentally ready to do it, And the thing about that is yesterday, Braden had this girl, he's like, yeah, she's ready to do this back handspring. Well, then he just didn't spot her. And it's like, well, somebody nearly died. It was fine. She hurt her finger, but it's like, and I could have told you, I didn't realize that's what he was going to do. He's like, watch this. I'm like, okay. He's like, do you think she's ready to do this? And he just let her do it. I was like, well, that's the wrong time to ask me. It's like, you should have let me watch you spot one, and I could have told you that wasn't going to, that she wasn't going to be ready to do it, because you can see it. And if you pay enough attention, and most coaches don't, but if you pay enough attention, you can really see things before they happen. And a lot of what we do in kind of getting comfortable in moving some chess pieces around on the board is just trial and error. And I told the story about the girl that I mind ninja'd into doing the round off on the beam. Well, there was a lot of engineering that went into that, and it's all just a little bit. And sometimes you're in like a psyop, sometimes you're in a psyop for quite some time, and you're trying to figure out what works. And it's, a lot of it is is like chess in that. And that, okay, here is where I'm at right now, and now all of a sudden I'm trying to get to here. Well, what are the moves that I can make to get to there? And so some of this takes a long time. Some of it is very painstaking, and you've got to be realizing that whenever, oh my goodness, all the way through, and you've got to kind of have a plan. And it's like, and if you crash and burn, you've got to have a contingency for that as well. And so lastly, before we beat up Kaegan tonight, do we have any other tips for honing your clandestine skills?
Try to listen to the coaches before you. Shockingly, they might be good at their job. Arron isn't, but...
Yes. My name is Arron Littleton, and this is one of 2 AGA Championship trophies we have because I'm not any good at my job.
So, Arron, you mentioned this earlier, and it was my top point. Sometimes you have to force a little discomfort. And I don't necessarily like doing that, and I don't like putting someone on the spot or in that position necessarily, but sometimes it is very beneficial. When you ask someone, hey, I need you to spot this back. These kids are going to stand on these panel mats. They're going to do a backflip off onto this pad, but someone needs to spot them. Oh, well, I've never done that before. Well, you're going to learn right now. Let's go. Stand here. This is how you posture your body. This is where you grab, this is how you control their body, Here you go. Here's one of obviously you don't just throw them to the sharks. Like with one of my coaches, I told her, this student here can do this without your help. They don't need you, so they're going to be your first spot. Someone that's fully capable of doing this without you there. Also, someone that's lighter weight, easier to control, because until you learn how to control a force, first you got to learn to control it, and then you can scale up how much you're controlling. At least that's how I tend to think about it. So one, force a little bit of discomfort within reason. And sometimes, in terms of the kids, ample safety measures, just a ridiculous ton of safety measures. At the end of our tumble track, we have a gigantic crash mat. No one's going to land on that and get hurt. I can't say that no one, but yeah, it's called a crash mat for a reason. You're intended to crash into it and be fine, but sometimes just throwing an extra pad on that, which doesn't make a difference really, but just seeing an extra pad can give a kid the confidence boost needed to try something. So sometimes over-engineering the safety can give kids a confidence boost needed to unlock their clandestine skills.
That's good. That's good. So the thing about this, my tips. Sorry. I went and got this trophy to prove my point about how good I am, and now, but now the thing about it is that it's really like unbalancing the shot. So I think right here is a much better place for it. Okay, so as you can tell, that's much improvement. Okay, so other tips for honing your clandestine skills. Number one, the thing is that if I've got something to tell somebody, generally speaking, especially if it's something that it's like, hey, not a lot of younger coaches don't understand the nuances, and it's like you don't have to say everything in front of everybody. And so if I've got a problem with something that you've done, or maybe we can do things a little bit better, I will come over to you, and Kaegan knows this, and I'll cover my mouth and be like, hey, maybe let's not shout. Let's not talk about that in front of the parents. Like whatever you want to talk about to your friends that is not appropriate for class time, you can talk about that afterwards. And so not everybody has to hear what I'm saying, and in fact, I don't want them to. I don't want parents to hear that, because if they do hear that, it makes it sound like a bunch of stupid idiots who don't know how to run a gym or be professional. And you're working around, and it makes them really think that if you've got a bunch of pencils in your ears, then you can't. And yeah, it's like a lot of that, to be honest. If I work, like I said, in the darkness. If I've got something to say that I don't need everybody to hear, I just go over and I whisper it. And you want to be as discerning as possible. And I think that will help out, because not everybody needs to know everything. And the other thing is, like I said, if you watch, you can see problems before they happen. Ugh, I can tell this kid is about to run away before they even do it. And it's like, and so I'll position myself there, or I can see, this parent's about to walk onto the floor, and we don't like parents on the floor. It's not that we don't like parents; we love parents. Just yes, number one, safety. You don't know what you're doing, and number two, it tends to make the class seem, I said professional. It seems, we've got this under control. And so generally speaking, we don't need parents on the floor. We are trained in the job that we are doing. And so please let us do it. But, whatever, and you can start to see things before they happen. Or this girl's getting a little shaky on this back handspring. The next one she may not go for. She may not stay on the beam. She's not really trying to stay on the beam, But yeah, so see problems before they happen, and that will really, really help you out. And so think about all the things that can go wrong before they do, and when you do that, and you handle things behind the scenes. You don't go up to people and be like, "Hey, quit talking about crazy stuff in front of everybody." It's like that just makes everybody look stupid. And you go to them, and I handle stuff. And if I really got a problem with something they do, I handle it behind closed doors. And if you can do that, you will make yourself much better at dealing with things that people don't even know are going on. And that's the best way to do it. Not everybody has to know everything that goes on behind the scenes. And if you hone your skills and you become as good as you can be at dealing with those things in an appropriate manner, then nobody ever has to know anything happens. And so tonight we are going to do randomly strong opinion. The randomly strong opinion tonight is going to be, and I thought about this one, and I thought it would be kind of fun to do. I don't watch a lot of Disney movies, but there are definitely some awesome Disney villains from my childhood, and I guess everybody's childhood, basically. And so yeah, we want to do top 3 Disney villains tonight.
So number 3 has to be Judge Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yeah. He's great. He embodies Disney villain really well. Not quite as well as Maleficent does, because that's like OG, but that's an interesting way to describe Maleficent as OG. But he's one of my favorites. Number 2 has to come from it is my second favorite Disney movie. And it's Yzma from Emperor's New Groove. And, okay, there is so much to unpack there. And I could talk about this literally all night on why it's like one of the greatest Disney movies of all time. But I love her character. I love how well everything is done. Her animation style, her story, it's great. Now, number 1 is the human race from WALL-E. They just straight up destroyed their planet. It is their efforts were too late.
Okay. In no particular order, I love the Aladdin movies. Okay. Especially 1 and 2, my favorites. Number 1, when people ask me what is my favorite movie, sometimes I struggle not to answer with Aladdin. Because genuinely, it might be my favorite Disney, might be my favorite movie of all time, not just Disney. But anyways, Jafar, awesome villain. He makes you hate him, and that's the sign of a good villain. If you genuinely think, I can't stand this character, they're despicable, good villain. Scar. Gosh, watching Mufasa go down, it hurts even as an adult, so Scar definitely takes the cake there. And not my favorite, but an excellent representation of what a Disney villain used to be. And that's how I like it better the way it used to be in terms of Disney. But Cruella from 101 Dalmatians, she literally just wants to skin these dogs alive and wear them as coats. How much more evil can you get? I don't know. She just strikes it, and she makes fun of the protagonist, and then he goes up there and starts playing his trombone just to annoy her. That's amazing.
We like pettiness here on Coach on Command.
We love pettiness.
So I'm gonna, for the first thing, I think Kaegan scooped me a little bit on that on Yzma. I didn't even think about Yzma. Yzma is fantastic, although I would have to say that I think Kronk is better.
Yeah, I don't know
He's
that he
a
strikes
villain.
a villain. Well, see, he's more like
Up until the end when he's
Chaotic neutral.
No, he's an idiot for sure. And in fact, there used to be a coach who worked at our gym that reminded me of him, but different story altogether. But yeah, and so I mean, up until the end, up until he's like doing squeakity squeaka, and at the end with all the squirrel, whatever they call them, squirrel scouts or whatever, he is a villain. He is working with Yzma, even though most of it is stupidity and not evil. But number 3 is Hades. For the first thing, from Hercules, for for the first thing, he is the literal devil. Okay, when you're talking about villains, I think the devil needs to make the list. But the thing is, he's hilarious, and also his hair is actually on fire.
the voice actor killed it for that role.
Oh
too.
yeah, no, absolutely, it's great. And then when he like freaks out and then he tries to comb his hair back. That is a fantastic visual gag. And so number 2, me and Tracy doing a lot of agreeing tonight, is Scar from Lion King. And the thing is, for the first thing, Scar had a name, right? Originally, I think it was Taka. And then, because of the evil, he changed his name to Scar. He hangs out in an elephant graveyard, which is like the craziest place that you could possibly hang out.
Apparently the sun doesn't even go there.
Yeah, I know. And he killed his brother, bro. Like, what more do you need? I mean, that is definitely top shelf villainry right there. But number 1, again, agreeing with Tracy, is Jafar from Aladdin. And now Aladdin is fantastic, and I think a lot of people think Aladdin is fantastic, but it is even underrated by those standards. And Aladdin is awesome, but the thing about Jafar is not only could he like hypnotize you and get you to do whatever he want, bro, the outfit. That man was a
top tier fashion for evil guy.
Yes.
And the goatee. That's how you know.
The sartorial choices of Jafar, fantastic. If I could wear like a turban and like a legit, like with what's it called, shoulder pads and a cape all day, I would do that all the time.
Bro, I would carry a walking stick all the time if it looked like that.
I know. It's also, and then also, I think adjacent to Jafar is Iago, who is also a fantastic character.
Yeah, came to the light eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
The redemption story was
And
good.
the other thing about Jafar is he got to be a genie. And I mean, it kind of is not fun when you get trapped in the lamp, but for a minute, just zapping people has got to be fun. And so Jafar, yeah, number 1 villain for me.
A little off topic. Robin Williams or Will Smith as Genie?
Oh, Robin Williams all day.
It's not
It's
even
not
a
even-
contest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Generally speaking,
Too bad, but he's not Robin Williams.
I think that it's an impossible task to live up to Robin Williams as a.
No one could have filled that role and did it to the same level.
So yeah, that was fun. That was a rousing rendition of Randomly Strong Opinion there. So yeah, if you are enjoying the podcast, please remember to like, subscribe, all of that. Argue with Kaegan. Kaegan needs you to argue with him.
Please, I have no friends.
So yeah, hit the bell, all of that, and follow us all over the place. And we do have an email.
AskDOC@yahoo.com.
You need to work on that. There's a lot of things that need improvement.
Your face is at the top of the list.
Yes, that's
I
why.
like all of them.
All right, so that'll do it for us. We thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening, and please stay tuned for Shark Game Season 1.
And have a flipping great day.
And don't forget to set. Take care.